Top 12 horror movies about psychic powers. Psychic horror movies often dwell on mysterious concepts that are fascinating, frightening, and provide unnerving thrills to viewers. Psychic powers can be of various kinds: mind reading, telepathy, or even telekinesis that flings objects from one end of the room to another. Over the years, filmmakers like David Cronenberg and Brian De Palma have made some mind-blowing movies involving these abilities, but there are many more that are being created. Each film incorporates unique methods of psychic phenomena that keep the audience at the edge of their seat as they watch an absolutely gripping story. This video will show you such a list. Get ready to lose your minds. Before we get into the explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin.
Kill yourself. No! Billy!
Dr. Sleep, 2019. The True Knot are a nomadic tribe that travels across the highways of America in search of sustenance. While they mostly look harmless in their polyester attire, in reality they are partially immortal and absorb something called steam released from children who possess the power of the Shining. Danny Torrance is still haunted by the events he faced in the Overlook Hotel with his mother years ago. He has desperately tried to get rid of his father's legacy and drowned himself in alcohol and violence as a coping mechanism.
You're gonna take.
He finally finds peace in a town in New Hampshire where he gets involved in an AA community, and his shining powers are used to provide comfort to dying people during their final moments. However, things take a turn for the worse when he meets Abra Stone and her immense shining power, the brightest one he's seen that makes him reminisce on his own demons. Mike Flanagan's Dr. Sleep combines the visions of both Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick to create a final product that is a dream crossover for all the fans of The Shining. In his unique style, Flanagan has created a thrilling movie paying homage to The Shining while incorporating creative camera techniques to magnify both the positive and negative effects of Danny's powers. With the use of close-up shots and a combination of a gray-blue color, viewers will get a clear visual into the mind of how Danny Torrance deals with his extra special psychic powers. This also successfully contributes to the movie's eerie, Twilight vibe that viewers recognize as a shift from the brightly lit, bloody vibe that The Shining operated in. Flanagan also sheds lights on the emotional and supernatural themes within the film that, much like its prequel, received a welcoming emotional arc. Furthermore, Flanagan has assembled an outstanding ensemble cast of Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and Kylie Curran, whose performances keep the audience coming back for more. Scanner, 1981. Daryl Revok is one of the most powerful scanners. He is the leader of the underground scanner movement that together aims to achieve world domination. Scanners are creatures who possess great psychic powers and control everybody's minds. Their skills involve being able to inflict agonizing pain on their victims. Dr. Paul Ruth stumbles upon a rogue scanner and converts him. This scanner is then used to destroy the entire Brotherhood. David Cronenberg's Scanners is, to date, one of the most difficult and out-of-the-world films ever created. It's not just any horror movie. It contains a thought-provoking plot that highlights several real-life issues that existed in society at the time that it was released, and still do today. For instance, the Scanners being an underground group and having to live on the outskirts of society because regular people are afraid of their telekinetic powers represents the prejudice that exists within human society. People hold a prejudice against anything that they are afraid of and don't understand, like the mentally ill, for instance, just like the Scanners are perceived in the film. Additionally, Howard Shore blesses the movie with a hauntingly ambient score that provides a lingering feeling of starkness throughout. Cronenberg clearly chose to create Scanner to highlight significant cultural and moral aspects of society that people were ignorant of during the 1980s. Carrie, 1976. Due to her mother's unconventional methods and upbringing, Carrie White is a social outcast at her school. Her mother, Margaret White, is a fanatic who holds extremely rigid views against sex, religion, and other things that she considers unholy. Therefore, due to living with such a person, Carrie has a skewed view of the world, which led to her not having too many friends. At her school prom, when the students play a nasty prank on her, it unleashes Carrie's psychic powers that she was suppressing inside for a long time. Brian De Palma's Carrie might seem like your old school outcast student movie at first, but as viewers go deeper into the film, Carrie White definitely shows her true colors. With themes of religion, bullying, and suppression, De Palma brings out the psychic powers as a positive aspect, since it seems like it was the solution to her problems all along. It is encountered as a strength to a person who is considered otherwise weak. The movie contains colorful cinematography, a thrilling plot that will keep you glued to your screen, and of course, outstanding performances by Piper Laurie and Sissy Spacek. Not to mention, the film received so much hype that Kimberly Pierce created a remake in 2013 that blew the minds of the audience just as much as the original. Of course, this is what ultimately comes of a screenplay that is originally based on the works of Stephen King. Finally, this classic melodramatic tale contains a gothic tone, stylish direction, and even while being unconventionally offbeat, is an enjoyable film. Thelma, 2017. Thelma, a devout Christian girl, leaves her home in Norway for the first time to study in the University of Oslo. She soon meets her fellow classmate Anja, who begins expanding her horizons and getting her out of her comfort zone. However, as she struggles more and more with her inner feelings, she realizes that she is also being overcome with a rush of psychosomatic emotions. As time passes by, Thelma's past is cloaked by a mystery. The more she attempts to suppress her desires, the more she is overcome with violence. Will Thelma be able to control her urges? Joachim Trier's Thelma is an unnerving film that creates a deep impact in the hearts and minds of the audience. Right from the opening sequence, they become aware that the eerie atmosphere is going to recur throughout the film, creating a hall of echoes. It subtly uses psychosomatic powers as both a physical and mental reaction to someone who has never been exposed to normal social surroundings. It evokes the same vibes as Carrie, as a suppressed girl becomes more aware of her environment after having been controlled by her parents and their overt religious restraints. Moreover, its coming-of-age theme also sheds light on some of the very common mental health issues that might arise with children of this age, that are often ignored. Eilidh Harbo's applauding performance convinces viewers that she was hand-picked for the role. The intensity within her performance truly moves them as she portrays more with her physical and facial expressions rather than dialogue. Firestarter, 1984. Andrew and Vicky first met during an experiment that they were both volunteering for. The experiment that was associated with one's psychic abilities raised a large amount of suspicion from everyone. Finally, Andrew and Vicky got married and gave birth to a beautiful daughter named Charlie. Weirdly, Charlie had the ability to start fires just by bringing the thought into her mind. This power of hers was also known as pyrokinesis. When the government heard of this, they wanted to admit her into their classified department, known as the Shop, where she would be quarantined and studied. Firestarter, directed by Mark L. Lester, is a classic 80s masterpiece starring Drew Barrymore in one of her pioneering roles. This adaptation of Stephen King's work contains an awkward combination of a CIA child molester, parents who were guinea pigs for an experiment, and, of course, the concept of paranormal psychology. The film contains Lester's unique and craftily carved direction, which maintains suspense throughout to keep viewers hooked. Moreover, the ensemble cast of David Keith, Freddie Jones, Martin Sheen, and George C. Scott were certainly a great contribution. One might argue about the lack of originality King shows by portraying such a child character again after movies like The Shining and Carrie. They must realize that unlike Carrie White or Danny Torrance, Charlie McGee is a scared little girl who doesn't receive as much attention during the film, but throws fireballs whenever she pleases. Moreover, the reason for her pyrokinetic powers is more scientific in nature than the supernatural reasons from King's other novels. The Gift, 2000. After Jessica King, Wayne's fiancée, goes missing, Annabelle Wilson is the person that everyone seems to turn to for help. She is a clairvoyant who has visions of the missing girl and informs the sheriff despite his skepticism in her abilities. However, when Annabelle points him towards a man named Donnie, they find her corpse in a pond on his property, and he is arrested for murder.
This ain't right, Pearl! Bitch!
Sam Raimi's The Gift is a Southern Gothic film that portrays certain brutal realities. It is thought-provoking and not just a movie that can be playing in the background during an evening of fun. It requires attention to every little detail. Along with the overt amount of violence against women that is displayed in it, it sheds light onto the violence that men impose and how it is oftentimes a woman alone who can solve it. Moreover, Raimi chose the perfect cast to showcase a balance of mysterious and mainstream, with Cate Blanchett's Annabelle being one of the most exotic characters ever portrayed on screen. The Gift's plot is powerfully scripted and doesn't call for a second of boredom amongst the entire 110 minutes. The movie's visuals are crucial to its psychic power element, since Annabelle's visions are what give it most of its edge. Nevertheless, although her character might appear unsettling to some, Annabelle is the person who took everyone's breath away. The Dead Zone, 1983. Due to a car accident, schoolteacher Johnny Smith goes into a coma for half a decade. When he awakens, he discovers that he has gained new psychic powers and is able to read other people's minds.
Amy.
Amy is my daughter's name.
Your daughter's screaming. The house is burning.
Although the powers appear to be a blessing in the beginning, it's not long before he realizes that they are actually turning into a menace. The Dead Zone, directed by David Cronenberg, is a perfect cinematic adaptation of Stephen King's work, as well as providing one of Christopher Walken's most outstanding performances. The pain and dismay felt by his character Johnny was clearly conveyed via his facial expressions, along with the strong visual imagery presented throughout the film.
I stood there. I did nothing.
Set in a cold, eternal winter environment, it uses a vast array of unsaturated colors. Moreover, Cronenberg perfectly captures and reinforces the subtext of alienation and loneliness. Due to the shift in tone and style of The Dead Zone compared to Cronenberg's other works, this gained popularity very quickly. The beauty of The Dead Zone is that it isn't fixated on fancy special effects and isn't very gory. Finally, with Michael Kammen's hauntingly ambient music score, this Stephen King adaptation went on to becoming very popular for many years to come. Red Lights, 2012. Dr. Margaret Matheson is a pessimistic psychologist. She and her assistant Tom Buckley specialize in solving people who might be faking the occurrence of paranormal phenomena.
Miss Owen.
So are you saying that all paranormal phenomena are frauds without any exception?
Actually, no, I'm not.
After several years of being absent from the public eye, Simon Silver, a famous psychic, resurfaces. Tom becomes obsessed with discovering whether Simon is one of the frauds or not.
He's dangerous, Tom. Stay away from him.
Red Lights, directed by Rodrigo Cortés, is his second feature film containing an impressive cast of Cillian Murphy, Sigourney Weaver, Robert De Niro, Elizabeth Olsen, and Craig Roberts. It is an edge-of-the-seat thriller that has incorporated within it an essence resembling that of Alfred Hitchcock. The movie's serious tone and narrative might overwhelm viewers sometimes, but that does not take away from the applauding performances of the cast. Moreover, the characters have great chemistry with one another, which makes the acting look very natural. The plot develops at a graceful pace and only gets darker with each passing second, intriguing the audience even more. Furthermore, viewers are shown the side of science that explores and validates people's beliefs in the paranormal. It portrays how even people who dwell in the deepest pits of science have the ability to disregard someone else's work for their benefit. Finally, with some unforeseen twists and great camera techniques, Cortés has created an appealing movie for everyone.
You see, there's nobody there.
Are you sure, Alex? He's always there.
Dreamscape, 1984. A government-funded project contemplates whether they should use psychics for their experiment to enter people's dreams with the assistance of mechanical devices. However, when one of their subjects dies in his sleep due to a heart attack,
Is it pulse?
Nothing's happening. Let's try once more.
Alex Gardner suspects that one of the psychics on the experiment is killing the subjects. It is now up to him to find the culprit and bring him to justice. Joseph Rubin's Dreamscape is a mind-blowing, dark sci-fi thriller with an ensemble cast consisting of Dennis Quaid, Max von Sydow, and Christopher Plummer. Despite having a serious premise, viewers are witness to Quaid's applauding performance and ability to provide ounces of comic relief. Viewers are able to see fantastically aesthetic dream sequences, all created via Rubin's vibrational style of direction. Each character's subconscious is allegorized by the diversity in colors that is displayed. For a low-budget flick, Dreamscape illustrated excellent special effects and great stop-motion animation. Your emotions are constantly toggled with, since the dynamic dreams and their impact on one's conscience truly reflects how surreal and horrific certain experiences can be. Finally, Rubin creates a foil between good versus evil amongst the characters' remarkable chemistry. With unique 80s creativity, originality, and a modern-day spin, Dreamscape is a lost gem worth bringing back to the surface.
I swear on my life I didn't take the master's horse. Open this door and I'll break through it and grab you!
The Sixth Sense, 1999. A child psychologist named Malcolm Crowe is visited by one of his former patients who happens to be very unhappy. This occurs on the same night that he is about to win an award. After this incident, Malcolm decides to help another patient with a similar illness. This boy named Cole claims that he sees dead people.
I see dead people.
Malcolm begins spending most of his time with Cole, making his wife slightly unhappy. On the other hand, Cole's mother Lynn is overwhelmed by the problems her son is facing and unsure about how to handle it. It seems like Malcolm is the only one who can help Cole.
What do you think they want?
Just help.
If M. Night Shyamalan ever did create a masterpiece, it has to be The Sixth Sense. The movie is a mashup of several genres that include a thriller, ghost story, as well as a love story hidden between the cracks that people will identify very early into watching it. It brings out elements of ghost stories that common people renounced years ago. Moreover, Shyamalan dwells on the skeptical barriers that adults hold as opposed to children, whose belief system invited a wider range of specimens. The psychic powers used in this movie, although overwhelming for a child, in the end were used for good rather than harm, which is not seen very often in movies.
Do you want to tell me something?
The Sixth Sense also shows its viewers that there are some things that can only be spotted by the innocence of a child. The Fury, 1978. A secret agency based in the United States run by Ben Childress gathers groups of children that have parapsychological abilities and trains them in the art of killing. Peter Sansa is a man whose son encountered a fake incident and was declared dead.
They killed my dad.
He suspects that Childress is behind his son's disappearance and does everything he can to rescue him. Brian De Palma's The Fury is an entertaining thriller directed in a stylish manner. It progresses at a fast pace and contains immense energy to keep the audience hooked. The movie contains enough melodrama that becomes more evident with John Williams' background score, creating blood flow in the film right from the start. What viewers appreciate about The Fury is that even the most outrageously bizarre events in it seem plausible due to De Palma's flawless direction. The film is home to intense action sequences with Kirk Douglas blowing the audience minds as a vengeful father, prepared to do anything to get his son back. The Frighteners, 1996. After Frank's wife Deborah dies in a car accident, he develops psychic powers which allow him to see and talk to her. After her death, he quit his job of being an architect and stopped working on his dream house. Instead, he began talking to several ghosts and asked them to haunt houses in the neighboring areas so that his business as a ghostbuster could flourish.
It is time to get seriously scary.
Soon, he realizes that something that resembles the Grim Reaper is murdering people by marking their foreheads beforehand. Frank now tries to save the people who might fall victim to this frightening creature. Peter Jackson's The Frighteners is an entertaining 90s flick with remarkable special effects, computer graphics, and makeup. What starts off as a Sixth Sense meets Ghostbusters story quickly converts into one where Michael J. Fox's character looks more like an advocate against ghosts. The movie contains a fantastic balance of horror and comedy and moves at a pace where the transition into dark supernatural thriller is very smooth. Overall, The Frighteners holds a special premise which might not seem original at first, but turns into a route that no other viewers could have imagined would come their way.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.